Hey there guys, it's Ryan here, Idiotic Biotic. I am back with a new video. We're going to be doing some Yu-Gi-Oh content from here on, for the time being of course. I did sort of dabble in it a little while ago, but doing it properly now. So for the first video of this kind of new chain of videos, I wanted to do a deck profile of a deck that I play in real life, which I think is super interesting, and I like to call it LSD, which is not as creative as you would think. It's basically Lightsworn Dragons. So the basic idea is you play it like a Lightsworn deck, and a little bit of a chaos kind of feel to it as well, which I'll get onto in just a second. So I'll just explain what's going on with this deck. Of course, as you can see, it's a even quite nice 20-20 split between monsters and spells, which was not intentional, but it seems to work well that way. So just to explain in short what each of these cards do, and then I'll show you a replay of a game that I played to give you an idea of how the deck works. So of course these guys are the bread and butter of the deck, and the Lightsworn are there to support those and get the plays off basically. So Felgrand, my favourite card in the deck and easily the most powerful card in the main deck. It's when it's special summoned from the graveyard, you can banish an opponent's monster either from the field or the graveyard, and it gains 100 attack for each of its stars. So that does include level or rank, which is super awesome. And when it destroys a monster by battle, you can then special summon a level 7 or 8 dragon from your graveyard, which these guys come into play, and also the synchros, which you've already synchroed and they got destroyed, which is really awesome, and that's why it's my favourite card in the deck, and easily one of my favourite cards in the game right now. To support it, we've also got the Dragon Spirit of White, which is spot removal basically for spells and traps. It banishes it when it's special summoned, which is really cool. Archbrave Dragon is the card that gets these guys onto the board. So you send this to the graveyard, and then in the next turn, whether it's yours or your opponent's, in the standby phase, it can then special summon a level 7 or 8 dragon monster from your graveyard apart from Archbrave. So that's these two basically, and any of the synchros that were sent to the graveyard, which is really nice. And this card, I've been trying to make these work for a little while since the structure deck come out, and I feel like this is the best build for it. Moving on to the Lightsworns, we've got Wolf of course playing 2, and Raiden playing 3, Lila playing 2, and Lumina playing 3. Raiden's the best normal summon in the deck, of course, because then you can mill out your Wolf, and of course go into your level 8 synchro plays, which is cool. A couple of rank 4s as well, which I'll get onto in just a second. Lumina's not a bad normal summon either, because it's a free discard, and you can special summon Raiden if it's been milled or whatever you like really, as long as it's in the graveyard. Lumina's a really good card, and yeah, nothing more to say about Lumina really. Of course it can pitch not just Lightsworns, but it can pitch your Jet Synchrons, your Electromagnetic Turtle, and any of these dragons as well, and any wolves that were in the hand when you drew, which tends to be the case in my experience. And then Lila, of course, for spell and trap removal, really good. So we don't play a whole lot in here. We play Twin Twisters because it's a graveyard focused deck. Electromagnetic Turtle is a really good card to prevent your opponent from doing a lot of damage to you, preventing the OTKs, so you can bring back your Archbrave or your Felgrand or whatever you like really. And then the only other monster is the Jet Synchron, which is really nice. If you mill it, you can then discard a card from your hand, special summon it, banishes when it leaves the field, but you can then go into synchro plays, especially this one right here, which I'll get onto in just a second. So that's the monsters explained. The spells are fairly self-explanatory really. Solar recharge because you're playing Lightsworns. Of course, discard a Lightsworn, draw 2, mill 2. Charge of the Light Brigade, mill 3, search out basically Raiden or Lumina if Raiden's in the graveyard, which it can be the case. Of course, you can mill it because you search after, which is nice. 1 for Jet Synchron, basically. It's another free discard, and you can get your Synchro players back up. Gospel of Revival, or Return of the Dragonlords, as it's called here in the OCG. It's basically Monster Reborn for any of these guys, or any of the Synchros that have already been synchroed and destroyed, which is quite nice as well. And you can of course get this guy's effect, this one's effect. Archbrave also, when it's special summoned to the board from the graveyard, it banishes all face-up spell and trap cards your opponent controls, gains 200 for each one, which is really, really nice. But it's not usually an effect that you pull off unless they've got a field spell, which a lot of the decks do now. So for draw power, of course, we've got the trade-ins. Discard these. Upstart because it's a free draw, and ideally you do want to sort of try and go for the OTK. It's a rarity, but it does happen, which is nice when it does. Foolish Burial to pitch either this, or if this is already in the grave, this, or possibly this if this is on the board. Or Jet Synchron can be sent from the graveyard. Sent to the graveyard, sorry, and brought back to pull off your synchro plays again. Terraforming for the Dragon Ravine. Dragon Ravine, of course, is a nice card because it's a discard from your hand, and then you can send one from your deck to the graveyard. So the ideal play would be to, if you have either of these in your hand, use it for the Dragon Ravine, and then send the other one from your deck to the graveyard. So if you got this in hand, pitch that, send that to the graveyard and from your deck, and then vice versa, depending on your hand situation. Of course, then we've got Twin Twisters for destruction of back row, and then this card, which I really, really love, and not a lot of people usually play it. I've never seen it played. I'm the only person that plays it, I'm sure. Ruins of the Great Divine Dragon is a really good card. Any monster that's special summoned from anywhere but the graveyard is negated for that turn. So any Xyz plays, like if your opponent tries to pull out a Castell, they can't use it, which is really nice. And of course, anything. So like fusions or synchros as well will be negated from by this. Of course, you have to be careful because it does negate yours, but you special summon mostly from the graveyard, so it doesn't really affect you. And when this is in the graveyard, you can discard a level 7 or 8 dragon from your hand, or send one from your side of the field, bring this back to the hand. So this can that can easily put this in the graveyard, so you can make your Felgrand plays again the following turn, which keeps the deck rolling. And I really do love this card. It's so good. So yeah, that's the main deck. The extra deck is basically level 7s and 8s synchros, apart from Trishula and Stardust Dragon. Not Stardust Dragon, that's Stardust Dragon. Star Eater, sorry. Star Eater is the biggest of the synchros. Of course, we've got this guy for the biggest of the Xyz. As far as Xyz goes, we've got Abyss Dweller and Castell, because they're the two best rank 4s, in my opinion. Then we've got Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy, which is one of my favourite Xyz monsters in the entire game right now. It's so good. It's a spell card negation, which is of course really good, and it's a big beater as well, 3000, so matches the blue eyes, which is quite nice. And then we've got the Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon. We never really use this. We overlay 2 level 8s to go into that, and then this Dark Matter Dragon. it can send your dragons from your deck to the graveyard, and then your opponent banishes 3, which is really cool. But you have to have all 3 dragons still in your deck, which is hard to pull off. But you use it because it's a game ender, because you can attack your opponent's monsters twice or once each, which is really good. As for the synchros, of course, we explained Star Eater, Trishula, because it's Trishula, and we play a synchro deck that can sort of go into it. You have to have a Wolf, a Lila, and a Jet Synchron, but it is possible. You can do it. You can also do it through this. This can destroy a dragon and produce a token. So you can have this, and the token that this produces to bring out Trishula. Crystal Wing I'll talk about in just a sec. Black Rose Moonlight Dragon to spin things back to the hand, big things back to the hand, which is nice. Michael for spot removal and the mill at the end of the turn. Of course, the level 7s make it easier to go into Crystal Wing from the Jet Synchron. That's why those 2 are there. I did used to play Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon, but it was literally only there to go into Crystal Wing, whereas these 2 have utility for this deck. Black Rose is another good card to have, but because you can pop the field, but of course you can banish this from graveyard, which is the other effect, and it stops your dragons from being destroyed. So if you have a full board of dragons, you synchro into Black Rose. You can banish that and all your dragons stay alive, and you can go for the OTK, which is a rarity. I've never done it myself, but it's a possibility. I've nearly done it. I've nearly done a full OTK from that. So that was cool. Of course, then we got Stardust Spark Dragon, Stardust Dragon, Scrap Dragon, and Scarlight, which are the round off the other dragons in the synchro pool. That's for spot removal, that's for negation, and that's to protect your monsters basically. And then this can wipe your opponent's board if all of their monsters are effect monsters with 3000 or less attack, and it burns your opponent for 500 each, which is really cool. Crimson Blade is the only non-dragon synchro monster that I control. It's basically to stop your opponent from sending out big old monsters in your opponent's turn. So it's a nice card to have, and you can easily, of course, go into it because it's a level 8. And then we've got Crystal Wing, which is one of my favourite cards in the game right now, and it's easy to summon, and it's amazing. Really good against the Blue Eyes because you can battle a level 5 monster, and this card gains attack equal to its the current attack of the opponent's monster that you're battling. So if you're battling a Chaos Max, this then becomes a 7000 attacker, which you can't really argue with. That it's pretty good. And of course this also negates monster effect as well once per turn, which is really useful as well. So that's the deck. I just wanted to show a quick replay of what to expect from this deck, and so smash, cut, jump, move on to the next bit. Okay, so in this one we're playing Ancient Gear. It was a little bit of a weird game because I'm not sure what Ancient Gears do right now, but so we mill the Wolf, go into Stardust Spark, which is a nice card to start with. Dragon Ravine sends the Lila and the Felgrand, which is quite nice. And then he activates those 2. I didn't exactly know what this did, so Twin Twister kind of dicked me over a little bit there, because then he searched for another one, and then he fused into this. Now, just to spotlight this card, I don't think you have to use what's it called? No, it's this. Okay, once per turn you can fusion Fusion summon 1 Ancient Gear Fusion monster from your extra deck. So this acts as a polymerization. Ancient Gears are kind of cool, but I don't think I'm going to be playing them. They're not that great. So this targeted itself, and this stays alive. I made a mistake here. I should have Ravined and then sent an Arcbrave from the deck, because I already had a Felgrand in the graveyard. But that's fine. It delayed it by a turn, basically. And this attacked both my monsters, taking me down to 600. This stayed alive, which is quite nice. And so from here, I knew I had to send an Arcbrave from my deck, because it's the only way I was going to win. So Arcbrave then activates, Felgrand comes onto board, banishes the fusion monster, and then gains 1000 attack. So then that's the ideal play there. Dealt some damage, and then end phase, standby phase on his next turn, Arcbrave activates, Felgrand comes on the board, banishes the Ancient Gear Golem, and end of game. So that's an idea of how the deck works, and yeah, it's a ton of fun. I play it in real life, and it's done quite well for me. I am trying to make a little bit of a change to the deck, using the 500 card, feels like 500 card, the 50 card Lightsworn, some of that stuff like the Fairy Tales, which could be really good. I would play Minerva, but I'm not spending £1,000 on a card, so that's not going to happen. And I'm probably not going to be winning any events anytime soon, because there's none near me. But yeah, that's an idea of how the deck works. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, then please like the video. It really helps me out, of course, and you can comment on the video, give me your opinions on this deck. If there's any changes you feel I should make, then please let me know. And again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.